Do we agree? Good evening. I call this meeting of the Kingman Council to order on Tuesday, October 1st, 2019. Could we have a roll call, please?
Mayor Miles.
Here.
Vice Mayor Lingenfelter.
Here.
Councilmember Nelson. Here. Councilmember Watkins.
Here.
Councilmember Wade.
Here.
Councilmembers Mello Keener and Scott Staler are excused for this evening, and we have a quorum.
Thank you. Would you please rise and join me in the invocation will be given by Pastor Peter Ernst of the Family Bible Church, and remain standing for the Pledge of Allegiance led by Councilor Watkins.
Shall we pray? Thank you, Father God, for this beautiful evening you've given us in this amazing country called United States of America. We pray your mighty blessings upon this meeting tonight. Thank you for our mayor and vice mayor, for all of our council members, for our police department and fire departments, for all those that serve us so selflessly. Lord, we pray your mighty blessings upon them, your protection upon us as a people in this nation under God. May you bless this time tonight. Give wisdom, I pray, and help them to be able to deliberate in manners that would protect the citizenry, but also, Lord, our liberties. And we'll give you thanks in Jesus' name. Amen.
Mayor, if I may, sorry, Counselor, it's not very often that we get Boy Scouts to the meeting. Mayor, if you would pick a Boy Scout to lead us, that would be wonderful.
You can see.
I agree.
Okay, we would very much appreciate it if one of you would lead us in the Pledge of Allegiance to our national flag. And what is your name?
My name is Amber White.
Amber Wisely will lead us in the pledge. I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. Thank you. The council may go into executive session for legal counsel in accordance with ARS 38-431-03A to discuss any agenda item. The following items may be discussed, considered, and decisions made relating thereto. Our first order of business is awards and recognitions, and I'm very happy tonight to be issuing a proclamation for National Physicians Assistants Week. We have a number of PAs in the audience tonight, and I know this will be presented to Mr. Kurt Manley, but first I'm going to read it, and then I would invite you up to say a few words if you would like to do so. Whereas quality, affordable, and accessible patient-centered health care provided by physicians' assistants, or PAs, contributes to the well-being and quality of life for all patients of Kingman, Arizona, and whereas PAs are often the first points of contact for many patients and play a vital role in helping them understand their medical needs and empower them to become effective advocates for their own health. And whereas PAs are academically and clinically prepared to practice medicine in all settings and specialties, including the diagnosis and treatment of disease, assisting at surgery, and prescribing medications, and whereas a valuable asset to the medical team, PAs practice medicine to enhance the delivery of high-quality health care for patients, often in medically underserved and rural areas. And whereas PAs have earned the respect of the general public for their dedication and contributions to people's lives and for working together with the healthcare team to ensure delivery of the more effective and efficient healthcare services, now therefore, I, Jen Miles, Mayor of the City of Kingman, do hereby proclaim the week of October 6th through October 12th, 2019 to be designated as National Physician Assistants Week throughout Kingman, Arizona, and encourage all of our residents to recognize PAs for the significant impact they have made and continue to make in healthcare as a critical part of the healthcare team. In witness, therefore, I have hereto set my hand. And so, Mr. Manley, would you like to come up and say a few words before I actually present this to you?
Thank you very much. We appreciate this.
Mr. Manley, if you would address the council,
Okay,
that's,
my apologies.
you will be on the,
I appreciate this opportunity to address the council and to have this proclamation signed. Physician assistant's been in existence for over 50 years. They started to set up primary care during an extreme shortage quite some time ago. The profession has progressed to a certain point that with us tonight we have PAs from family practice, from orthopedics. We also have with us tonight a couple of students that are rotating with us here in Kingman, one from Washington and the other one from the Northern Arizona University program. So again, thank you for the time and we appreciate it very much.
I would ask if you would like to invite them to come up and be a part of the picture. Who is taking the picture this evening? Manager Fagan?
Yes, Miss Annie, are we going to take the photo? Yep, thank you.
And I'd invite the council to join in this picture if you'd like to come down and recognize these PAs.
You're going to be in the front, I'm sorry.
Short people in the front.
That's good. All right, ready? 1, 2. Yep. And then 1, 2.
Next recognition is award of the Arizona Law Enforcement Accreditation. Chief DeVries.
Mayor and members of council, this is a very special evening for our department as well as for Arizona law enforcement in a whole. Very pleased to say that in 2017, the state of Arizona began an endeavor for seeking law enforcement accreditation. That program was adopted by the Chiefs of Police Association in 2018, and our department immediately began to pursue the accreditation status. We sought and applied for that accreditation status in September of 2018 and began a self-assessment phase of complete review and rewrite of our policies and procedures, as well as a multitude of other checks and balances that are in place through the accreditation. We strove to achieve that by January of 2020. I'm very pleased to say that on September 11th, we went before the Accreditation Commission and received a positive recommendation. And on September 12th of last month, the Arizona Chiefs of Police voted to award accreditation status to our agency. And here tonight to present that accreditation status is our program manager, Mr. Kevin Ray. Kevin, if I may.
Excellent.
Good evening, Mayor Miles, members of the Kingman City Council. My name is Kevin Ray. I have the pleasure and the honor to serve as the Accreditation Program Manager for the Arizona Law Enforcement Accreditation Program, or ALEAP. The ALEAP program truly is a partnership between the Arizona Association of Chiefs of Police, the Arizona Municipal Risk Retention Pool, the League of Arizona Cities and Towns, and Arizona Post. The program is designed to identify the 174 best practices for the safe, effective, and efficient delivery of professional law enforcement services in the state of Arizona. The Kingman Police Department, under the leadership of Chief DeVries, started the self-assessment portion of the ALEAP accreditation program on September 11th of 2018. But to say they started it then would be an understatement and would not be a complete picture of the time, effort, and commitment to the program that Chief DeVries and the men and women of the Kingman Police Department have put into the program. As you probably know, Chief DeVries has been a driving force behind this program, from the designing the framework development of a select working group, liaison with the risk pool, and other state accreditation programs. I was also fortunate enough to be hired as the program manager by Chief DeVries. He's been a champion of not only the Arizona Association of Chiefs of Police, but also the Arizona Law Enforcement Accreditation Program, using every ounce of his drive and motivation to assure the program came to fruition. Chief DeVries leveraged his relationships to obtain funding for the program, worked with other state accreditation programs through an affiliation called AccredNet, and sought out subject matter experts across Arizona and across the country to develop these best practices for the state of Arizona. So when it came to identifying a chairperson for our commission, there was only one person that could have filled that role, and that's Chief DeVries. Chief DeVries challenged his staff to be one of the first agencies in the state of Arizona to become accredited, and Deputy Chief Evan Kunert answered that call. Deputy Chief Kunert set timelines and benchmarks for he and the staff to meet to ensure the success of the agency. Working with other staff, Deputy Chief Kunert worked tirelessly both on and off duty to accomplish the task assigned to him, including working nights and weekends, even while he was away in Tempe at Staff and Command for 10 weeks. The Kingman Police Department had their on-site assessment July 5th and 6th. The assessors were Deputy Chief Ruben Nunez from the Marana Police Department and Assistant Chief Bruce Walls from the Maricopa County Attorney's Office. Together, the assessment team verified that the Kingman Police Department were in compliance with all 174 standards of best practice. During the on-site assessment interviews with staff, just to point out some of your staff, assessors talked to Officer Adam Simonson, who was asked, "What are you most proud of working for the Kingman Police Department?" He replied that he was recently recognized by an elderly citizen who he helped with a plumbing issue. He said, "I know it wasn't police work, but it was the right thing to do." That is the type of police officer that you have working for you here in Kingman. This level of servant leadership is evident throughout the agency. The accreditation process and standards of best practices have been ingrained in every division of the agency, from patrol to investigations, from training to professional standards, records, and administration. The Kingman Police Department has proven their commitment to the accreditation process. They are driven to provide friendly, professional service to their community, and the assessment team left impressed with many facets of the organization. On September 11th, as Chief DeVries just said, the ALEAP Commission convened a hearing in which the Commission unanimously recommended the Kingman Police Department receive their initial 4-year accreditation award. The next day, the ACOP Board of Directors agreed. Mayor Miles, the ALEAP Commission and the Arizona Association of Chiefs of Police Board of Directors would like to publicly recognize and congratulate Chief Bob DeVries, Deputy Chief Evan Kunert, Deputy Chief Rusty Cooper, and the men and women of the Kingman Police Department on their initial Arizona Law Enforcement Accreditation Award and the culture of respect, honor, and accountability they have created within one of the finest law enforcement agencies in the state of Arizona.
Thank you so very much. It's really a great honor just to be associated with a city department that is so excellent. And I can say, I'm sure on behalf of all of us and all the citizens, how proud we are of this department, of men and women that serve, and also how grateful we are for their commitment to excellence as exemplified by this accreditation. So thank you, Chief DeVries, all of your team, and every single one of your men and women who exemplify such excellence. And thank you for presenting this.
Thank you.
The next order of business is the call to the public, comments from the public. Those wishing to address the council should fill out request forms in advance. Action taken as a result of public comments will be limited to directing staff to study the matter or rescheduling the matter for consideration and decision at a later time. Comments from the public will be restricted to items not on the agenda, with the exception of those on the consent agenda. There will be no comments allowed that advertise for a particular person or group. Comments should be limited to no longer than 3 minutes. And we have 3 people signed up for call to the public, and the first one is Diane Ferrego. Okay, certainly. I understand.
Thank you
Just-
for, good evening, Mayor Miles and the council and members of the city. We're still very concerned about the issues in regard to the construction over there behind us on Rising Sun. And so we've prepared packets with letters from almost every neighbor up and down that street. Many of them could not be here tonight due to health reasons and so forth, or they're out of town. We would like to invite all of you to please come up and meet with us. Meet with us in our yards, in our homes, and look at what we're looking at. Walk that property behind us and look at what's happening. I know that all of you have probably driven by and seen it, but walk it with us. Let us show you what we're worried about. Let us show you what we're concerned, what our concerns are. Please, we ask you, just call us and we will work around your schedules, do whatever we need to do to meet with you, either individually or as a group. We'd love to have you come up. We represent us. We are a long time, we've been here almost 50 years, but all your life. We've been here a long time. This is our city. We're very proud of our city. We participated in the parade, had a wonderful time. We love our city. But we want you to come and see us, please. And that's about all I have to say. We have these packages.
If you give those
Clerk.
to our clerk,
Yes.
she'll make sure
We
we each
went
get
ahead and
one.
gave one to, so
Okay.
we'll get another one over to Sue, or whoever's
Okay.
missing
Um,
because we made 7. I don't.
If you give them to Annie, she'll make sure that each council member
Okay,
gets
each one
one.
has a flash drive of photographs. We didn't want to try to do a slideshow or something long and drawn out. We just want to see what we're looking at. And we'd like you to see it in person with us, please. So thank you very much for your time, and you have a good evening.
Thank you.
for the good job that you
Thank
do.
you.
We do appreciate you. Thank you.
Thank you. The next person to speak is Bill McKay.
Good evening, council. I'm here tonight just to kind of briefly go over what I've been talking about the last few months. Just cover them briefly. They cover. The designated employee, 35107, has been brought up a few months ago. I don't know if anybody's investigated it, but simple call to the Department of Justice will confirm that you're required to have one. The intent of the code is to establish minimum requirements to safeguard the public's health, safety, and general welfare, which a lot of these will do. That the building official is supposed to be authorized and directed to enforce the position of the code. And that's what I feel hasn't been done. It's supposed to be existing in. They can write violations and track that. However you work it, they can work something just like they do yards or trash or graffiti. Here, the accessibility, existing buildings are to maintain, comply with the code, doing the maintenance on that. There's a lot of businesses in the community that do maintenance and do upkeep. I'm not saying every building does it, but Some do, and they make it easy to get into for everybody. Then some don't. Well, to me, it's investment in their property, keeping it up. And you want to make sure, you keep your property up, it holds its value. Makes your customers easier to get in the store and get out if an emergency happens. I asked if any of you have read any of the information I give. Or even got on the the ADA website and check. Call them. I called them yesterday. I was on the phone about 30 minutes. So I'll answer your question. Ask them, number one, do you need a designated employee for the city? The answer is going to be yes. Number two, do you have to enforce the existing codes on the existing building? They're going to tell you yes. Do they have to update? No, but they have to maintain the accessibility that was put in place when they were built. I haven't brought up anybody that need to add something. They just need to fix. An hour of your time to investigate, you'll understand where I'm coming from and what the codes are. You may not agree with me, but at least you'll know personally what they say. Real easy to find the information. Thank you, and I appreciate all you giving your time.
Thank you, Mr. McCabe. Manager Fogg, or Mr. Cooper?
Yes, ma'am, I'd just let you know that the staff is working on this issue and will be presenting a report at the next council meeting.
Excellent, thank you. I appreciate that. The final person that has signed up for call to the public is John Woodward, Jr.
Honorable Council, Honorable Mayor, thank you for letting me get up and say a few kind things. I love my new city. Moved here about 1.5 years ago. I think you kind of maybe met me over at the Dam Bar, maybe. We're a Republican party. I'm a conservative Republican, part of District 1. I've been told District 4, but I don't know. Anyways, I'm here to just kind of mention something. I think there's a great opportunity that's before us, before the city of Kingman, that may bring immense amount of money and development and jobs and opportunity. And that's to address the future of life. The future of life, it comes from a plant called the hemp plant. Luckily, Doug Ducey went ahead and legalized that because it takes less water than cotton to grow. But what they're making nowadays out of that is aircraft, auto parts, automobiles. They're making clothing out of it. Everything from paper to everything that we touch, say, and do, down to medicine that we take, taking out opiates. The thing that I see as opportunity is our airport out there in the industrial area. There's a lot of room to not only grow, but to manufacture, produce products, and ship all over the world. Those nice rail spurs we got in there are just magical. I came from the city of Atlanta, and the city had 5 months to survive. On the city council over there, that was 5 years ago. We ran on the cannabis issue. That city now leads the entire state of California from seed to sale as far as medicinal cannabis growth. And my whole thing about it when we got into it is really to save mankind from the opiates and all kinds of weird stuff that they're talking about nowadays, or not good for your health. But also the textiles, the building materials that they make out of that. They make a superior drywall. They make superior concrete that doesn't burn. And I guess I ran out of my time. Is that the beep?
You have 30
Anyways,
seconds.
I just wanted to call and bring that to you and say thank you for letting me speak, okay? Thanks a
Appreciate
lot,
it.
guys.
Thank you.
Okay.
Okay. That concludes the call to the public. Next order of business is the consent agenda. All matters listed here are considered to be routine by the City Council and will be enacted in one motion. There will be no separate discussion of these items. If discussion is desired, that item will be removed from the consent agenda and will be considered separately. Do any of the council wish to remove a consent agenda item? Hearing that there is no interest in removing an item, I would entertain a motion to approve the consent agenda as presented.
Second.
We have a motion and a second to approve the consent agenda, which will be items A through I. All in favor, aye? Aye. Any opposed? Thank you. Any opposed, nay? The ayes have it. Motion carries. We'll now move on to old business. Kingman Crossing Development Agreement. This development agreement between the City of Kingman and KX Ventures, a partner with Kingman Regional Medical Center, was created to facilitate the construction of a traffic interchange and supporting infrastructure at the Kingman Crossing area. Over the course of up to 25 years, the city will reimburse KX Ventures one half of the TPT revenues generated in the project area. Staff recommends adopting the development agreement. Manager Foggin?
And I think I'll jump in on that real quick.
Mr. Cooper?
As you're aware, we've been working on this development agreement for a significant amount of time. We've had numerous council meetings and executive sessions. We've had staff and attorneys meeting back and forth with the folks with KRMC and their partners, and we've developed this development agreement that you're obviously intimately familiar with. It's a pretty significant document that outlines this project that will, we think will be the start of some economic development and growth out in the East Bench area and provide some of that much needed connections. The idea with the agreement is that the KRMC and their partners will basically front the cost of the development of the infrastructure, and those costs will be reimbursed with the TPT revenues generated at that project site, up to one half of those TPT revenues. And technically, it can go up to 25 years, but with hope that they will develop that project and the great success that we hope it'll have, that could be paid off much sooner. Obviously, it's paid off sooner, the reimbursement would end, or if it's not paid off in the 25 years, the payments will end. Ultimately, we think this is a win-win situation for everybody involved, for the citizens, for KRMC and their partners, and the city as a whole. We think it really opens up a lot of prospects for the city's future. And I think I kind of covered everything. I don't know if there's any specific questions or if you...
Are there any questions? I'd like to thank you and the city manager and all of the staff and the council for the work that's been done on this agreement, and we're very appreciative that it is now at council. We do have one person signed up to speak on this issue, and that is Harley Pettit.
Mayor, council. The development agreement here seems to be a little vague. You did a little clearing up about the business TPT revenue and the new businesses, but even that's not exactly too clear to me, anyway. But I think with a 25-year commitment, it probably should be a ballot measure and for the citizens to decide. I know you've done a lot of work trying to put this together, but ultimately it's on the citizens' bank account. The public, I don't think, has any real information on this. They haven't had any workshops, and my guess was kind of alluded to, was the agreement was done in executive session and behind closed doors. What I would suggest would be giving the 160 acres to KRMC as the city's portion of an agreement and not lose any TPT money at all. The city would realize a better deal than trying to sell the land outright, which was given to us at no cost in the first place. I'd ask that you table this agenda item for more input and information. Anything less than this, I would think it would be a disservice to the citizens, and it shouldn't be rushed into. Thank you.
Thank you. There's no one else signed up to speak to this, so I would ask if the council has any further discussion or questions of staff.
Started negotiations of this in, I think it was March of 2018, and I would just like to thank KX Ventures for all their work, and Brian in the hall. Hi, Brian. Just want to thank them for their commitment. I think that this agreement is going to help not only attract and retain healthcare professionals as far as new entertainment, new restaurants, new retail, but it's also going to help to attract and retain professors at our NCC campus here, and also middle and upper management at our industrial park. So that's good for everybody, and I'm glad that we're able to approve it or have this on our agenda.
Any other comments?
Madam Mayor, thank you. I echo what our Vice Mayor Lingenfelter has said. Carl, I would, for clarification, because just so, you know, as Mr. Pettit mentioned, maybe some clarification on a couple things. I know one thing that was brought up was the TPT as far as existing businesses that we have here in Kingman, and if they were to relocate to this new location, what effect that would be. So if you could maybe, I want to bring that to the public so that.
Right, and there's significant definitions regarding that, as you're aware, that, you know, the movement of one business to that location, then that's not going to be participating on that revenue sharing.
Correct.
And what we're looking at is we're sharing revenue that we don't have. This is going to be brand new revenue, and it's not that the city's out money, the city's gaining money on this issue, and that's the benefit to this.
Okay, thanks for the clarification.
Thank you. Any other questions?
No, that's it.
I think the important thing is that the TPT, as it is defined, is relegated to the district that has been created, that is all new. It does not exist. And that TPT generated there will be shared during the life of this debt. So it is new, and it does not take any money out of our pockets. That's a very important point. Thank you. Any other comments? If not, I would gladly entertain a motion regarding the adoption of the Kingman Crossing Development Agreement.
Mayor, I would move to adopt the development agreement as presented.
Is there a second?
I second that motion.
I have a motion and a second to approve the development agreement for Kingman Crossing project. All in favor, aye? Aye. Did David vote?
Dave, are you there?
That was an aye.
Okay.
Okay, and any opposed, nay? Ayes have it, motion carries. We'll now move on to new business. Consideration of ordinance number 1893, amending various sections of the City of Kingman zoning ordinance to consider reducing the front side yard setback requirements in certain residential zoning districts. Public hearing and consideration of ordinance number 1893, amending various sections of the City of Kingman zoning ordinance to consider changing the front yard setbacks in the R16, R18, and R110 zoning districts to a minimum of 5 feet, and the front yard setbacks in R120, R140, and RR districts to a minimum of 10 feet. At the September 10th, 2019 Planning and Zoning Commission meeting, the Planning and Zoning Commission voted 2-2 to recommend denial of the proposed text amendment. Staff recommends approval of the proposed text amendment with the condition that RV gates and driveways to be located nearest the interior side of the property. Good evening, Mr. Ruggles.
Good evening, Mayor and members of the council. This is a text amendment to the Kingman zoning ordinance regarding front side setbacks on corner lots. The applicant, Angle Homes, is proposing a text amendment to reduce the front side setbacks for several zoning districts, R16, R18, R110, R120, R140, and RR. This reduction would only apply to corner lots, and the table that's on this slide shows you the current setback requirements for all yards around a structure. The front side setback, that would be the only one that would be changing. The numbers in red are the current setback requirements, and then the blue numbers next to that are what would be proposed. So in the R16 district, it would be proposed to be changed from 10 to 5, and R18 from 15 to 5, R110, 15 to 5, R120 from 20 to 10, and R140 and also RR would be changed from 30 to 10. And just to give a little primer on what setback actually is, it's basically the minimum distance a structure can be built from any property line. So this shows you just your typical yards around a house. The front setback, of course, is the area between the front of the house and the street the house faces. Typically, this is the street the house is addressed off of. The rear setback is the opposite yard. Side setback would be on, of course, on the side of the house, and then the corner side setback, which we also call in our zoning ordinance the front yards or front side setback, is the corner. So the corner is what we're talking about tonight. The proposed text amendment would to reduce the setbacks in the corner lots in certain zoning districts may help to address some ongoing safety concerns. We do have a lot of new homes being built in Kingman currently. Often those are built with driveways close to the corner radius on corner lots. Vehicles backing out of the driveways in those corner lots can sometimes conflict with traffic in the intersection, creating a traffic hazard. Property owners typically place RV gates, if they have an RV, on the exterior side of the corner lot closest to the driveway. And this has resulted in some people using the handicap ramps to drive their RVs onto the property, potentially damaging the ramps. Fire hydrants are also located near intersections, and property owners may back into them, causing damage to the hydrant. This is just a real-world example of what we're talking about here. You can see the driveway is built right at the corner. There's a fire hydrant on the corner. You can see the RV gates, and then the curb ramp, the handicap ramp there that sometimes people will use instead of the driveway to access their RV area. So that's sort of the issue we're trying to address. So it's some example site plans. The one on the left is the what current requirements would be with a 20-foot corner side yard setback on the side street and 30 on the front. This is an R120 area. Typically, again, you'd have the RV gate in that 20-foot area near the corner where you could have some conflicts at the intersection. The developer Angle Homes is proposing the 10-foot setback in the R1 area. You can see how it shifts the house to the closer to the street, but then it opens up a larger side yard on the interior, which they would then use for their RV gates. They would also flip the house so the driveway is closest to the interior side yard, getting it as far as possible away from the intersection. Another example, this is a smaller lot. This is the R16 zoned area. So this particular lot's about 8,000 square feet. Again, the driveway is right at the corner. The corner side yard setback is shown as 14 feet. The minimum is 10. Typically, again, that area it's really the only area that they could place an RV gate. There's not enough room on the other side. So if this change were to be implemented, they could have a 5-foot corner side yard setback on the corner street. That would open up the other side for the RV gate and move the driveway further away from the intersection, away from those potential conflicts. So the Planning and Zoning Commission met on September 9th, and they voted 2-2 on a motion to deny the proposed setback changes. And some of the concerns from the commissioners that recommended the denial of the amendment included concerns that the corner visibility would be blocked if homes were allowed to be closer to the side street. There was a concern that if a bedroom was built close to the side street on a corner property, a vehicle could possibly crash into the resident's bedroom. And then third, if a primary and accessory building or accessory buildings are built closer to the property line, it may not look aesthetically pleasing in the neighborhood. So these are just some points to consider regarding corner visibility. When a structure or wall is built on a corner lot, it cannot be constructed within the site triangle. So this is a This diagram just kind of shows what we mean by a site triangle. It's a 25-foot long area measure at the face of a curb and then measured this way. So that within this triangle area, you cannot have any walls or, in this case, a hedge higher than 3 feet in height. We do allow things like trees or flagpoles as long as there's no obstruction within an 8-foot area here. Once you get beyond the site triangle, you can go up to 6 feet in height for a fence. So most corner lots have a 5 to 6 foot high wall along the property line beyond any site triangle issues, so back in this area. That wouldn't change if this house were allowed to be built closer to the wall. The wall would still be there, wouldn't change at all. So we don't believe that it would really create a site visibility issue. And on the aesthetics issue, again, within this, if this is the corner side yard setback right now, this is typically an RV parking area. So that would no longer be the case. So I guess it's in the eye of the beholder what's more attractive, an RV there or a house. The proposed text amendment requires that the placement of the RV gates and driveways would be located nearest to the interior side of the property, as I mentioned. So it'd be a requirement that those driveways be away from the intersection. And this will reduce the possibility that RVs and other vehicles will be driven onto the property by the use of the handicap ramps or have issues with vehicles being backed up into the intersections or into fire hydrants. And allowing the reduced corner side yard setback would allow property owners to have a more buildable area on their lot. Especially since in the larger lots, you have a 30-foot setback area, and that area cannot be used for any type of structure. They can landscape it, but they can't build anything within that area. So as I mentioned, the commission voted 2-2 to recommend denial. Staff, however, is recommending approval of the text amendment with the sections as presented, with the 5-foot setback in the R16, R18, R10 districts, and 10 feet in the R120, R140, and RR districts. And with that, I'd be happy to answer any questions, and the applicants are here this evening as well.
Thank you.
And Mayor, could I just point
Yes.
just a procedural issue? That was a motion to deny, which tied, which means the motion failed.
Right.
So technically, you have no recommendation from the Planning and Zoning Commission.
Thank you for that clarification. Appreciate it. Are there any further questions for Ms. Ruggles? Questions?
Okay.
Is there, yes, Counselor?
Rich,
Yes.
we're working through a planning and zoning whole ordinance update at this stage of the game. What are we looking at this? Where is this going to fall? Are we going to get told, wow, we probably overdid it and now we need to go backwards? Or are we going to hear, great, good pat on the back, great for you to do it? Where do you think this is going to land?
Well, we did make our consultant aware that this is going through the process.
Okay.
So we have had the conversation with them. So, this is still amending the existing ordinance. It would just be incorporated into the new ordinance if this were to be approved.
Mr. Ruggles, so this is truly just for corner lots?
It is.
Okay. I get the safety issue, especially on those lots that have the fire hydrants and just the whole garage there and the ADA. Is the same benefit there with the larger lots like RR and R140? Is that, because that's a lot of land. Do you still get those same benefits that you're describing?
Well, I think you probably could. Obviously, in the larger lots, there's less of an issue because you just have more land to work with. But we had, if you may recall, a recent issue with a detached garage that was built into the setback on a large lot. And one of the issues was that in that area, we have a 30-foot setback, so that's a lot of area that they can't really use for a structure. So the argument could be that, it maybe if 10 feet is too much, maybe it should be 15 or 20, but something, give them a little bit more area is kind of the feedback we've gotten on that.
Okay, thank you. Go ahead, Vice Mayor.
I would have a question to the applicant.
Okay. Any other questions? Counselor Nelson? Okay, thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you so much. Okay, at this point, we do have a person that would like to speak on this from the public. So I would invite that person to speak, and then I would invite the applicant to come up and speak with us. And the person who's asked to speak on this is Sari Tabert.
Good evening, Mayor and Council. I was able to attend the last Planning and Zoning meeting, or the Planning and Zoning meeting, where this ordinance 1893 was brought up. I share some of the concerns of the voters on that commission. But first of all, I'd just like to say it's a really good idea to move the driveways away from the intersection and also the RV parking. Just want to point out that these two concerns are not mutually exclusive. We can have an ordinance that moves those driveways and RV parking back without limiting the setbacks for the street side, what do they call it, street side? Space there. Right, thank you. Anyway, another concern I have is if a builder were to construct a somewhat non-traditional structure, maybe like a 2-story salt box, and I don't know if this zone is applicable to this, but, you know, that's going to bring a 20-foot front setback right up to that corner that's 5 feet away from that side street. And I don't think that would be aesthetically pleasing. I think we take it for granted that we're always going to have these houses with the garages in front, which I hope if we go with the form-based code, you know, that we can kind of get rid of that aesthetic. And also agreeing with some of the planning and zoning people, I do think having the little bit extra space on those side streets does improve the open look of the neighborhood and not create such a tract home ambiance. Thank you.
Thank you. Would now like to hear from the applicant. Good evening, Mr. Pennington.
Thank you very much. My name is Travis Pennington. I'm employed at Angle Homes. I've worked there maybe 6-7 months. I was kind of hired as maybe what you call like liaison to the city. When engineering or has an issue with something, many times I'll get a call and go meet one of our engineers out in the field, and there's more than, I believe it's 3 times I've been called out, and it's issues with corner lots like this. And so I feel like we're bringing this we're seriously, it's a safety concern. Engineering has brought it to us. At this point, city staff doesn't really have any teeth to say, hey, you guys have to always put the RV gates or the garages always have to be there. So I've been called out in the field a couple times. We go out there and there's issues with whether it's a stop sign is in close proximity to a driveway or a fire hydrant is close proximity. And so we've as collectively have spent months trying to come up with a solution that we believe staff would support and that would move this forward and seriously address a safety concern. And there might be 10 other ideas out there, but this is one that kind of came to us and we've been working on. So I would just like to preface this that we seriously are attempting to address a safety concern, and this would give staff the tool to make sure that driveways are always on that side and that garages will always be orientated on that side. And I think that's something that doesn't exist now. There's always been, I think from a safety standpoint, you're having these driveways where they're far away from the corner there. I don't know that they're in a perfect will as far as the engineering would like. But
Mr. Pennington, can you come back? Because we have cameras and, yeah.
Actually, Madam Mayor, excuse me, there is a microphone. I think you could grab that and walk.
Okay, I can probably chew gum and talk and maybe point my finger in the general direction.
Oh,
yeah.
Okay.
But I believe there's also aesthetically, I was very concerned. Are we going to address a safety concern and then create another one? So very early on, we tried to we'll meet with the fire department, we'll meet with engineering, meet with planning and zoning, and I believe that we have arrived here with this because everybody involved felt like this was better than what we had before, or what we have right now. I believe from an aesthetic standpoint, there is a really pleasant softening effect when you drive down, say, a street like Central Avenue has a bunch of side streets going off with corner houses going up. What would happen is as you're driving up Central, rather than have driveways and garages poking out kind of close, there'll be a patch of landscaping. Landscaping is one of those things that the city can require. And now we're not having to worry about is our homeowner going to want to drive an RV gate, drive their RV into their RV gate, which the answer is always yes. So we landscape accordingly. We're not going to put trees over there. We're not going to put boulders over there because it's just an obstacle for our homeowner to be able to get to their RV gate. So I think aesthetically, as you drive through our community and you drive through communities that have implemented this, I think there is going to be, it will be very aesthetically pleasing. That's, I guess, a subjective statement. But I believe we've put a lot of time into it, and I believe you've brought up a concern is maybe in the larger lots. It is, this is a very serious concern in the smaller lots, R16, R18, R110. There's a very limited amount of real estate there, so one of the proposals that engineering has always made is just flip the driveway. If you just flip the house over, leave the setbacks the way they are, what it does is we don't have enough room on the corner. There's still enough real estate on that corner to put an RV gate, and that's what by default where it goes. So I think this plan not only addresses flipping the house, getting the driveway as far as we can away from that corner, but then the RV gate follows.
Yes,
I'd
thank you.
Gail will
Okay.
answer your questions.
Vice Mayor?
Appreciate it. Thank you. Well, I've looked at this issue, and me personally, I tend to agree with you. I think this is better than what we have right now. I would personally like to look at home, maybe landscaping, than an RV. So my question is, you touched on the aesthetics, right? This ordinance, it seems like you would provide the opportunity to add some additional landscaping for increased curb appeal on the corner lots. Is that the intent of the applicant with this? Is a part of this to sort of soften the curbs to maybe enhance the landscaping on those corner lots?
Yeah, yes, I don't want to blow smoke at you or over exaggerate anything, but what is going to happen is right now in front of those RV gates, there isn't an opportunity to plant trees and put boulders because they've got a customer that's going to want to get from point A to point B, and that's their backyard. So we're not going to put boulders and trees out there on that corner. Yes, without a doubt, landscaping is a requirement, and that is like the prime piece of place that you'd want to spend your money on. The landscaping is on that corner, and yes, we are going to landscape, and those corners will look nicer. What I believe, this is my opinion, subjective, is yes, this will look nicer than what is currently happening.
Being that on the record.
Any other questions? Yes, Councilor.
So are you at a solid 5-5-10-10 and 5-5-5-10-10, or do we have some room that we could have a little conversation about, do we need to be so drastic? You got a solid jump there from the first one, obviously not. 5 makes sense on the first one.
I think R16, R18, and R110, that real estate is that there's not enough real estate to give up. It's not just simply flipping houses, and there's not, to get that RV gate over to where it's needed, we need exactly the kind of, and what we're talking about is we're looking at some samples of lots. So this is a sample of an R120 lot. An R120 lot is 20,000 square feet is the minimum. Like that lot is, I don't know the square footage on that, but that's a fairly large half-acre corner lot. There are there are corner lots, and I have many of them that are 95, 96, 200. This one is roughly 124 feet across the front of that lot. So there's all kinds of weird. I have a concern that if you just arbitrarily make some changes here, that it could cause us problems on R16, R18, and R110. Is there possibly a compromise that maybe makes sense to you guys, makes more sense to you guys on those R120, R140? I guess if I'm throwing a question back.
I'm actually just working through all of the different options at this stage. 15 and 20 maybe are the difference, but you had mentioned something about a safety concern on the R120s being at 15. Tell me a little bit about that.
Say that, repeat the
You
question.
mentioned that there was concern for safety if you only went down to on the R120, if you went down to 15 instead of going all the way down to 10. You felt there was a safety concern?
No, I don't know. I don't know that my concern is safety concern,
Okay.
but I have a concern that the important part of this, and that I think what we're doing here is we're giving staff a tool that they don't currently have. They don't currently have anything that says any requirement where they can make RV gates go on the opposite side from a corner. That doesn't exist. And then the other thing we're giving them is the ability that they now have the means to make people flip houses so that the driveway is now further away from the corner. So I believe there is kind of a trade-off here. Yes, we're asking the city to give us some reduced front yard, side yard setbacks, but in exchange for that, you guys are getting a really valuable tool that addresses an ongoing safety concern that's been ongoing for years and years and years.
In looking at this, the opportunities that I see is it makes the corner lots, the yard in the corner lot, bigger and a little more aesthetically pleasing, but also in the backyard, it seems to make the yard in the back for the property owner a little bigger and maybe a little more functional.
Yeah, there was a slide, and maybe it's in your guys' packet, but staff did a kind of a calculation of what there's a 30-foot side yard setback on R140, and so they did a quick calculation of what that run, 30 foot by, a 200 or 300, I think they had done it by 30 foot by a 300 foot depth lot. It's like 9,000 square feet that we're, as a community, are saying, no, that's off limits. That's a pretty big chunk of a 1 acre lot. It's 9,000 square feet. So I think there maybe is a reasonable compromise, but I don't think that we're bringing a safety concern or bringing anything that's going to aesthetically bring any negativity along with it. Yeah, do you guys feel like this is a safety concern, or that we've attempted to do a good job addressing a safety concern? And
I feel like that I see the issue that you're bringing forth on those R16, R18, 110. I still haven't surrounded the larger lots, the benefit I don't know that the benefit is as great as I can understand on these smaller lots.
And I'll say, I don't know, again, that the benefit is great, so I agree with that.
But I can certainly see it on R16, 8, and 10.
But I believe also if by making this change and then you're handing staff the tool, I think that is probably one of the more valuable things that happens with
On
this.
those larger lots, I don't see the immediacy of the concern. Does that make sense?
I could, if I had more examples, I wanted to kind of not give staff like 20 different versions. I'd love to give like 20 different versions and 20 different size lots and be able to, I don't. I've provided one R16 lot and one R120 lot. But when you get there, it's all different shapes of lots and all different sizes of lots. And so, and when we're talking about side yard setbacks, all that matters is the frontage of that lot. It could be 400 feet deep. It doesn't matter. We're talking about the frontage of that lot. And so those are all. So we need enough flexibility to where this can work. Now that said, is maybe there's a compromise on the R120 and R140. We don't, just for the record. R is a kind of obscure zoning. There's not a bunch of it. We don't really specialize in building on R, but I thought it would be a shame to not kind of bring it in and be able to give staff the tool to enforce these kind of rules, even on
That,
our.
in that area, because I know areas that are RR, and I know how that looks, and I think this would be a very important difference in those areas, because you've got a lot of land there, they're set back. So if suddenly they're starting to come forward, I guess I'm trying to understand the impact on the neighborhood. Hello, Mr. Engel.
Can I share something with you? So I think on the larger lots, like the acres, I think 20 foot would be fine. The half acres, we had a drawing at the office, we didn't bring it, but one of our standard plans of Legacy is 2,374 square feet. And on a 110-foot lot, that lot, on a corner lot, we've built probably 200 of these homes over the years, but on a corner lot that's 110 foot wide, you have 20-foot side setback currently on the corner and 10 foot on the interior side, right? 80-foot lot, so you got 10. If you flip that house around and you put the garage on the inside, now you have 10 on the inside and 20 on the outside. And 10's too narrow for an RV gate to get access to the backyard. And so that's our concern. I think if we went to 15 on the half acres and 20 on the acres, that would work. But to just say that it's going to stay the same, but we're going to enforce this rule of switching the houses around every time to the interior, we're losing, because sometimes that's 10 feet. You know, it's the minimum setback, and you can't get an RV gate in there or get access to your backyard if you're going to deny us access on the 20-foot side. I mean, it'll mess up our ability to build the houses that we've been building in Rancho. So if you want to bump it up some to 15 and then 20 on an acre, 20 on an acre I think is fine. But
So
to
the
keep
the RR, it could be 20 instead of 10.
Yeah, 20 instead of 10.
And the R120 and 40 could be 15.
Yeah,
instead of
15
10.
on the R120 and then 20 on the R140, I think would be
Okay.
fine.
Okay.
As a compromise.
That-
I'm just saying, if you leave it at our current setback and make us flip all, you know, we're having to flip all the houses.
Right.
And by the way, this is gonna cost me money, because I have lots like in Vista Bella that are already over-Xed, where we had to dig down 3 feet for the house. And when we adopt this new rule, my footprint changes. I'm moving the house from here to here. It may cost me 20, 30 grand to go back to those lots and over-X that dirt and recompact it in those spots to do it. So this has cost us money. We're really trying to do something that benefits engineering, because they were complaining, hey, your driveways are too close to the corners. You know, it doesn't work. So we're just trying to find something that works for everybody.
And I appreciate that. I do see I agree with the Vice Mayor. I think a house is better to look at than an RV as you're driving down the street. I like the idea of the RVs being on the inside, the other side of the street. But I think I would feel more comfortable not being quite so drastic on these higher level lots. And as you say, at 15 on R120 and 20 on R40.
I know there was a concern expressed about, you know, they need space between the houses, but we're not changing anything between houses.
Right, no,
Still,
this is just corners.
still the 10 and the 20. In fact, on the corners, there'll be a little more space between the houses, because we're putting the garage on the interior side. So, I don't know. Sorry to barge in, but I thought
No,
that would...
I appreciate your comments, and I feel like those larger lots can be a little bit more generous on that front side with the 15 on I-20 and 20 on I-40, R40. I'll get all this nomenclature right in a minute. But 5 on R16, 18, 110. Pardon? Do you have a question? Oh, do you have a question?
Thank you, Madam Mayor. I appreciate the concern on the safety. I think that's a great idea of keeping those driveways off away from the corners. That's a great idea. I like what the mayor has mentioned as far as making some compromise here, and that's the one thing I did want to point out. You know, our commission basically was sort of deadlocked at 2-2, And, they represent the people also, just like all of us do. And so it sounds like we really need to have some compromise here as opposed to drastic at one end and other. And so what I was thinking along the lines of is, well, first, Doug, is part of the goal to basically supply every house with an RV gate?
It is, maybe 5% or less of our houses don't have RV gates.
Okay.
So our goal is to always provide that. A lot of people don't necessarily have RVs. There's a percentage that do, but they have a boat, they want to put a pool in. If you just got 5-foot setback on each side, it's pretty hard to access that backyard. So we always plan to put one. There's a handful of our houses or that people pick that don't have that, but vast majority do.
So what I was thinking of is, and I agree with the R16, that is that's a small lot. And so I like the idea of going down to 5 on that one. But like, for example, while we've been talking and everything, I wrote down notes that maybe looking at, 5 on that, 10 on the next one, 10 on the next one, and then 15, as the mayor mentioned, and then 20. Would that work? Or is that something
it would not, because of, if you, we would have to redesign all our plans in our houses. Because if you have a R18 lot, and right now, most of them we have 15 foot. If you look at the small plans, we have 15 foot because that's a minimum setback on that side. And we have 5 foot on the interior. If we flip that around and we have 10, then we're going to have 10 on the inside. That's just too small to get vehicles or RV gate into there. So on the smaller lots, R1, 6, 8, and 10, we really need the 5 foot if we're going to do this. We don't have to do it. What we're doing is working. This was more of a thing where they were saying, hey, this is a safety issue on the corners, and what can we do to resolve it? I was down in Gilbert driving through a subdivision, and I noticed that's what they were doing. Every house, the RV gate, the garage was on the inside. None of them were on the corners. And so that's where that idea came from. I was down there. I figured these guys maybe have got it figured out. And so down there in most of the cities in that area, that's what they're doing. They're just not allowing it on the garage or on the street side, but they have a short setback on the street side. So that was their solution. We have a lot of lots, Ken, that are already developed and built, and we can't fit houses in if we go to that. It just wouldn't work. So.
Well, as I mentioned, and I thought about, compromise because of the way our commission ended up. But I think, you are giving some compromise too on the 20 and 40.
Yeah.
And so, scoping those back to 15 and 20. Because you do have more room on those lots. And I can understand the thought process on the smaller lots. So I understand that.
I think this is a smart change. And you guys didn't have to bring this to the city, but you did.
Right.
And, voluntary thing.
Any other questions for Mr. Engel? Thank you.
Thank you.
Then I would entertain a motion regarding the ordinance 1893.
Madam Mayor, I would recommend adoption of ordinance number 1893 with the change of 15 foot on the R120 and the 20 foot on the R140.
I have a motion, and I have a motion and a second. Is there any further discussion? No, I'm sorry. No, I'm sorry. We're in the middle of a vote. Sorry. So I have a motion and a second to approve ordinance number 1893 with the revision that R120 is 15 on the front side and R140 is 20. All in favor, aye.
Aye.
Opposed?
Aye.
Aye. Opposed, nay. Ayes have it, motion carries. Thank you. Are there any property reports tonight? Or department reports? Property reports, property on my mind. Department reports. There are none? Okay, then are there any announcements by the mayor, city council members, or city manager? These are limited to announcements, board and commission liaison reports, availability, attendance of conferences, and seminars. Manager Foggen.
Yes, thank you, Mayor. I have a couple of things. First, I guess I'll start with the bad news, is that our Citizen Academy, we did not get enough people signed up to put it on, which we were really disappointed about, but it may give us an opportunity to re-advertise, which we will do, and we're going to look to having the Citizen Academy after the new year. Maybe people will feel less pressured by Halloween and the holidays. So we're going to give it another shot. So just want to let everybody know that we are canceling this fall, and we're going to take another swing at it in the wintertime. The other thing is, I just want to tell my team and thank them for putting on the great Annie Devine celebration this weekend. I cannot say how grateful I am to the extra effort that all the team put in, Public Works, Parks, Economic Development, Tourism, just everybody lends a hand. And so I just wanted to publicly thank them and tell them what a great job they did and what I just really enjoyed the event. So thank you for that. And with that, that's what I had. Thank you.
Thank you. Councilor Watkins.
I have nothing, Mayor.
Councilor Nelson. Vice Mayor.
I would only report that I attended the Historic Preservation Commission and the Economic Development Advisory Commission meeting, both on the 24th.
Okay. I would like to thank the Chamber for giving a very nice Andy Devine Awards dinner, and I was very glad to attend that and help distribute the Andy Awards. So I think it was very nice. It was at the fairgrounds, and a good time was had by all, and congratulations to all the winners. And also, I would like to add my thanks to all of the staff who participated in the parade and in the whole festival. It went very well, and I think, again, the city is just showing its ability